did real comprehensive research. I don't know why they invited me here for that. All right, are we on the move? There we go. As he said, not many people know what trademarks are, and this is going to go fast. So a lot of people, when they think about trademarks, this is what they think about. Logos, designs, names, that kind of stuff. And the reality is it's so much more than those things to a trademark. The basics of what a trademark is just the ability to see where something comes from. And it's been happening for as long as there has been trade. As these Roman items tell you, Roman lamps, Roman luxury sandals there, those are actually marked with trademarks. So as long as there has been someone producing something and someone buying it somewhere else, there needed to be a way to tell the customer what there was. Now, there are different types of trademarks. What we're going to talk about is just basic ones. There's a line right here, and on one side you have collective marks, and here are certifications. Certifications just tell you something has a standard. It is what it is. The other one is you're a member of a club. Now, as I said, though, with real trademarks, though, substantive trademarks, it can be anything that tells you where something comes from. I've taken the only trademark that people know about off of this vehicle, and yet most of you could probably tell me who makes that vehicle. A lot of you would say, well, I can tell because of how it looks. Well, if we look at the trademarks, though, that's how it looks. It's these items that are on that vehicle that actually make up that look and tell you where it comes from. And every vehicle will have things like that. Every little product will have things you can say, I know what that is. Those are trademarks. It doesn't have to be the name or the logo. Just like the bottle. Everyone knows what that bottle is. Not many people would think, oh, that's a trademark, but it is. Even without the label or anything on there, you can still say, well, I know where that comes from, right? Or where what is in it comes from. But let's take it a step further. Well, I guess we won't. We'll stay on this one for a little bit. But what's interesting about this one is on the truck or on the vehicle, we had a product with trademarks that were on it. With the Coca Cola bottle, we have a product within a trademark. Together, they make the product. You can't go buy a bag of brown liquid. But when you put it in the bottle in the trademark, you have something. Here, we actually have a trademark, but it is the product. You can't have that product without having it be made as the trademark. So they become inseparable. But it's still just as valid of a trademark as anything else because it does its job. It tells you where it comes from. And here are actually the registrations of that trademark. And if you didn't know, this was Toblerone, but I have an idea that most of you knew what that was. But these are the actual registrations of that trademark at the international office. So when we start talking about trademarks, we're talking about all of those things that you can tell where a product comes from. Now, while these are all registered Norwegian trademarks for various things, but as we're doing it, what does a trademark do? We talked about what it was. What does it do? Well, here I have a bottle from the bar. Now, if I open this up, I probably know what's in here. But the reality is I have no idea what's in this bottle. The only way that I know is because of the name on it, and the shape of the bottle is a registered trademark. If I open this up and I have a sip, it's probably going to be Sprite, right? But if it isn't Sprite, there are two things that happen the minute that it's not Sprite. One, someone cheated me. The other one is that someone cheated the company, right? Someone actually used that trademark to defraud me into buying that. But they also were working upon that trademark to sell me that. So they're stealing money from the company that owns that. And that's what's interesting about a trademark is these things fit together at the same time. One is the right for the public not to be defrauded. I knew what I wanted, I chose something, and I didn't get it. That's trademark infringement. At the same time, the person who owns the trademark, the infringer, is stealing from him to take my money. Now, this is very important into my research, which is a little different from the substantive trademarks, because we have all of this tourism that's being pushed to different areas, and it's becoming experiential. People want an experience, and to have an experience, it needs to be genuine. This is very important in places where you have an indigenous group. An indigenous group and the experiential kind of tourism, they kind of go hand in hand because the people will come up, they want a unique experience, and part and parcel of the unique experience is that indigenous group that are there. Here we have indigenous people of Southeast Alaska, and right here, you might be able to see this big plate. It's called a tana'a, and the tana'a is a silver or a copper plate in that shape, always in that shape. And this is a modern one that was made for me by an indigenous craftsman. But because it has such a unique and distinctive shape, it also becomes something that people want to take home with them. You know, they're going to visit a genuine indigenous group, and they say, oh, I want something to take home with me, and they want something genuine. This is a fake of that. Because the shape is so distinct, it lends itself to trinkets, to earrings, to pendants, to belt buckles, to things people can buy and take home with them. But when you're purchasing those things, if you don't have that ability to guarantee the genuineness, just like my Sprite bottle, if you can't guarantee it is what they want, well, that's trademark infringement. But it's also something that's kind of pulling out of the indigenous group. Just like if this were not Sprite, it would also be pulling out value from, the Coca Cola company. Another way we can look at this is a trademark in clothing. Remember, it can be anything that designates where something comes from. So with clothing, these are obviously sports teams. A sport team will have a service mark. You go and watch them play. They play in a certain uniform. You know who's playing. It also applies to indigenous people. That you have that dual purpose. One is for a service, or maybe someone wants to buy something. You have to have that guarantee of where it comes from. And without that, you start to erode the indigenous rights, just as you would erode commercial rights. Talk.
Thank you, sir.